For question 2.1 on Unit 3 of the Level 4 Certificate in Education and Training, we need to analyse the benefits and limitations of communication methods used in own area of specialism. So for this assignment question, we are reflecting on the big three communication methods of verbal, non-verbal, and written communication. So we're reflecting on those within our own teaching practice, and we're thinking about the different ways we show our verbal, non-verbal, and written communication. So we're going to reflect on the examples of them. We're going to reflect on the strengths, when and where we use them, and also the limitations or considerations when using those specific methods. So within the next few videos, I will be explaining each one. Now, just on the assignment template, before we answer the questions, I've wrote some examples of verbal, non-verbal, and written communication as well. So for example, with verbal questions, for verbal communication, it could be asking questions to your learners, clarifying information with them to ensure that they're understanding the content, providing verbal instructions to learners, providing praise, encouragement to learners, managing learner behavior, of course, facilitating learner discussions or debates. It could be even storytelling or giving real life examples. So those are examples of verbal communication methods. Just some examples there. Non-verbal, this could be eye contact, so maintaining eye contact with your learners, scanning the room to see if all learners are engaged, using facial expressions, hand signals, gestures, for example, a thumbs up, all of those ways in which you engage your learners. Even your posture and body language is a good example of non-verbal communication there. So please review that section there for some examples. Finally, we've got the written examples of communication. So, for example, it could be emails to learners or managers or even parents. It could be written comments on a learner's work. So it could be marking assignments and you have to provide learners with feedback there. It could even be creating classroom notices or announcements as well, perhaps creating something that goes on, for example, a notice board within your lessons as well. Conducting ILPs or one-to-one reviews with learners, you're writing down feedback, of course. So those are some examples of written. So what we need to do in a moment, I'll show you the table, but you need to provide examples of verbal, non-verbal, and written, okay, examples from your own teaching role. And we're looking for just a couple of examples on each. We would like for you to reflect on the benefits, so aim for 2 strengths and also 1 limitation for each method as well. Here is just an example of verbal. Okay, so I've described how it is used within my lessons and also the strengths and limitations. I'll talk you through this table to show you the level of detail required to hit the pass criteria. You can use images from your own lessons. That's optional, you don't have to. So the first one is verbal communication. As you can see, we've got a photo taken from one of my lessons when I was delivering the Level 3 awards in education and training. And I, within that lesson, provided verbal instructions on how to perform a specific activity. So with regards to this section here, it says to explain 2 communication method examples you use within your teaching practice. So for verbal, I've chosen 2 examples. Number 1 is asking questions to learners, and also number 2, providing verbal instructions to learners as well. So here we're just looking for 2 paragraphs. So paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. This is where you're explaining examples of verbal communication within your own teaching practice. So for example, asking questions to learners. So a technique that I use within the lesson is using the pose, pause, and pick method. So this is where I pose a question, I pause, and then pick a learner at random. So the benefit of this is that it allows for all learners to be engaged. When I'm posing that question to the group, I pause and then I pick or pounce. So I pick a learner and they provide me with their response. So my advice is to use that approach because all learners are engaged. If I did say a learner's name, when asking a question, then the rest of the class would switch off. So I always use that method there. When asking questions, keep it simple. We're not here to bamboozle or to confuse learners. So do pick a learner, but just be confident that they can give you the correct answer as well there. Another example of verbal communication is providing instructions to learners. So often when delivering my courses, I provide learners with hopefully clear verbal instructions. So I tend to give a step-by-step guide on how to complete a task. When communicating, I use concise and simple language. I check for understanding as well, and I try my best to not use any confusing terminology or try not to talk for too long when giving instructions. I always back it up with showing a whiteboard of the steps of the instructions as well. I often find what is quite useful is showing learners the end product of a task is really good, so they can see what they're striving towards. So show them the end goal is particularly useful. But I always like to give a timer on how long the learners have got within an activity, and I just follow up at the end when explaining, has anyone got any questions as well. Just on to strengths then of verbal communication. So with verbal communication, it allows the teacher to check learners' understanding. So verbal communication is a two-way street. So for example, when explaining instructions or asking questions, the teacher can establish whether or not the learner has retained the knowledge being taught, or whether the teacher does need to slow down to revisit sections and to explain again. So asking either nominated or open questions is an effective assessment method to ensure learners or learning has taken place in order to move forward to the next step of the course. So I think that with verbal communication, you can grasp and engage whether learners have fully understood a particular aspect of your course before you move on as well. So verbal communication also improves learner confidence. So by asking questions, and if learners get the right answer, hopefully they do, it boosts their confidence and motivation to continue with the course as well. So questions will help support the learner to hopefully to build their language and listening skills. As we know, these are transferable to the world of work as well. So, and of course, asking questions as a two-way process, so learners can hopefully clarify what you mean as a teacher, or to go over anything that they're unsure about as well. So absolutely, that's a key strength there. Now, with verbal communication, we just require for you to write a limitation or consideration when using verbal communication as well. So I think that sort of a key factor is learner confidence. So a learner must feel confident in their knowledge to be able to respond to perhaps a teacher's question. So a learner could potentially misinterpret the question or feel embarrassed with their response. Hopefully not. So we want to try to keep verbal instructions and questions as clear as possible. So just be confident with your own ability to ask clear questions, and the questions that you ask, you need to make sure that you've taught the content previously as well, so learners feel confident, and with instructions as well, as mentioned, keep it clear so it's not confusing as well. So just be mindful of those aspects there. But with verbal communication, I would like for you to write just 2 examples of verbal communication. Feel free to use the instructions page or to include your own examples. 2 strengths of verbal and a limitation or considerations when using verbal communication. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this video has been useful. I'll talk about non-verbal and written shortly. Please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.